Yo, what's up, guys? Teacher Polov here, and today we have a coffee request. Thank you so much for the coffee. Tack så mycket. This comes from Susan, who is showing us an educational video. This video is actually from a channel called 3-Star Vagabond. Link is in the description if you want to watch it without my commentary, but come back to see my reaction to it. Okay, let's go. This is Susan's request. The medieval week is in Visby. Visby? On the island of Gotland in Sweden's largest medieval festival. Every August, the UNESCO-listed town transforms its vibrant medieval city filled with nights, markets, music tournaments, street performances, and historical reenactments. Visitors can experience authentic crafts, traditional food, costumes, and family-friendly activities, making it a unique journey back to the Middle Ages. That sounds fun. Let's check it out.
Ever since 1984, there's been a huge medieval festival on the island of Gotland in Sweden. The Gotland Medieval Week is a week full of medieval markets, exhibitions, and reenactments. Around 40,000 people visit the Medieval Week every year.
40,000 people.
And this year, you and me are gonna check out everything there is to see and do.
Whoa! Barbecue. Is that Swedish barbecue? We're back to the Middle Ages. Dude, this feels so
The Medieval
cool.
Week may sound like a typical Renaissance fair. You can find tons of those in Europe and the US. But I think that the Medieval Week is a bit different. Full disclosure, I actually haven't been to a Ren fair in the US yet. But from what I hear, there's not exactly a great focus on historical accuracy. Anything that looks vaguely medieval is fine, even if the colors and materials are completely anachronistic.
So this is historically accurate. That's interesting.
And there's supposedly also a lot of fantasy elements. It's basically the Middle Ages, but filtered through popular culture, as I understand it.
I see.
There's actually a lot of that at the Medieval Week as well. But there's also a lot more. There's a greater focus on portraying life as it really was hundreds of years ago. And it's also themed around a specific set of events surrounding the Danish king Valdemar Atterdag. Even
I hope they don't go full medieval here, because people start ravaging and stuff. That would be crazy.
though that theme has become less and less important over time as the festival has grown. But most importantly, the Medieval Week takes place in the town of Visby.
Visby. That's how you say it. Visby.
Visby is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's the biggest town on the island of Gotland in Sweden.
Nice. Shout out to all the Swedes who are
It's known as a
watching.
city of roses and ruins. The most famous feature of the city is the medieval wall that circles the town. The wall was built between 1250 and 1288 AD, with additional parts being added in the 1300s. There used to be 29 towers along the wall, but these days only 27 of them remain. There's, for example, the Maiden's Tower, Tall Lisa, and the Gunpowder Tower. It's Northern Europe's best preserved medieval wall, and it's a big part of why Visby has
thick
become
wall.
a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But people also lived there before the wall was built. There were Viking settlements here between 700 and 900 AD.
That's
And
so
there are
cool.
also traces of settlements dating back all the way to 2000 BC. But Visby really became an important city in the 1200s when it was part of the Hanseatic League. By the 1200s,
nice.
Visby was one of Sweden's biggest cities, and it was a significant trading town due to its position in the Baltic Sea.
This reminds me of the movie Arn. Have you guys watched Arn?
By the 1200s,
What he's wearing right there reminds me of Arn, the Knights Templar.
Visby was one of Sweden's biggest cities, and it was a significant trading town due to its position in the Baltic Sea. The Hanseatic League was a medieval network of trading towns and merchant guilds spread out over Central and Northern Europe. And Visby was the center for trade in the northeastern part of the Hanseatic League. The Hanseatic League was a political and commercial coalition of loosely connected merchant guilds and city-states. The league mostly consisted of what would later become Germany, but there were also parts of Belgium, the Netherlands, Poland, Latvia, Estonia, and Sweden included. Oh, and Russia as well. And Visby on the island of Gotland was an important part of the league because of its proximity to Latvia, Estonia, and Russia. Even before the Hanseatic League, Visby had been the center for trade on the Baltic. And in the 1200s, it continued to be the central trading town of the northeastern areas. However, since the Hanseatic League was started in Germany,
so it basically saw a lot of foreigners back in the day, right? A lot of people coming in. That's nice.
Town of the northeastern areas. However, since the Hanseatic League was started in Germany, the common language in the league was German. So the lingua franca back then was, ironically enough, German. There's a lot more I could say about the Hanseatic League and its influence on Visby, but I think that we should check out what you can find at the Medieval Week.
Juggling. You could learn how to swing a sword.
There's a lot happening during the week.
You can experience how it was to be a prisoner. Oh, what the heck? That's weird, though. Oh, man. Okay. Interesting.
There's a lot happening during the week. There's medieval performances and exhibitions, medieval pubs, and medieval markets. I've seen Viking markets before, but this place really goes all in.
Oh,
There's
nice,
so much to see here, and I really felt like I wanted to fit in. So the first thing I did when I got here was to buy myself a tunic and pants at the market.
Let's go. Get into the character, right? Dude, those look nice. Oh, wow.
Something that I need to mention is the unofficial Medieval Week. The Medieval Week has a lot of big and flashy and costly events. Some people wanted cheaper and or alternative things instead, so they started the unofficial Medieval Week. You can find a lot of interesting and maybe not as historically accurate events on the unofficial program. You'll have a lot of fun either way.
But wait, you have to pay to go inside? Why is it expensive? What makes it so expensive?
As I mentioned, Visby is a town full of roses and ruins. In the 1200s, there were 15 churches in Visby, in a town of 4,000 inhabitants, so quite a church-filled town. And
does B mean village? Like when a word ends with B, it means the village of Vis, right? Or am I wrong? I remember something like that. B means like a village. BYB.
Many of those churches still remain to some degree. Some of the church ruins are quite intact and quite marvelous to look at. The most famous ones are Saint Karin, Drotten, Saint Nikolai, Saint Lars, Saint Göran, and probably a lot of other saints that I forgot about. During the Medieval Week, many of these church ruins have stages for performances. There are many different types of performances. Some are very well organized and full of interesting history. Some are musical numbers featuring medieval music or something pretty close to it at least. And some are more ad hoc by happy performers just walking around town.
That is so cool. This is a true Viking right there. Hey, it looks like a fun event, man. It really does. It really looks fun.
Speaking professional performances, something that I'm really looking forward to is the jousting tournament.
Jousting?
Archers and horses and sword fighting and lots of medieval action.
You're kidding
What's
me.
not to like? The jousting is a special event that you have to pay extra for, and the same goes for a lot of the other official performances. If you just want to visit a medieval market or a medieval pubs, then all you need is a regular entry ticket. But for all the other special
have to pay
events,
for
you
an
need to
entry.
pay extra. On top of that, the cost of living and accommodation can get really expensive during the medieval week, and the boats to and from Stockholm can get really packed too. So you need to plan
Wow.
ahead to make your visit affordable, or as affordable as you can make it. Myself, I'm staying at the prison to make things a little bit cheaper, as in a hostel that used to be the Visby prison. It's definitely not a luxury accommodation,
What?
but it's within walking distance of everything that's happening in town. And it does feel pretty cool to sleep in a cell. I've never done that before, I promise. Anyway, let's have a look at the jousting
my
and
eyes on you,
archers
bro.
and whatever's gonna happen. Maybe there's gonna be some fire at the end as well. Who knows?
Now, let me tell you, that is the most Scandinavian thing I have heard today. A prison becoming a hostel. That is so Scandinavian. That is something that it's good news, right? They're closing down a prison. I guess due to lack of prisoners to host foreigners or people who are coming into the city to make a hostel. That is so cool. That is really cool. You know, I would love to live in a country where you don't need prisons because people don't commit crimes, you know. And I know that every country has crimes, but it's very Scandinavian for you to see prisons closing down. And I love that. That's pretty cool. Never change, Sweden. Never change. Dude, they're actually jousting. This is actually dangerous, you know. Are they gonna go against each other, or it's just an exhibition? Wow. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. Did you see me? I lit up. My face lit up with that. I'll be honest with you, I don't think they are going to attack each other like real jousting. That's awesome. Oh, they did! That's nice. They actually are jousting for real, for real. That's so cool. What? That's insane. They're actually jousting with fire blades or whatever. It's not blades. It's
I mentioned that there are medieval pubs during this week, and I would of course not be interested in that at all myself, but just for you I decided to have a quick look. I'm not a connoisseur when it comes to medieval drink or medieval food, but I know that Sweden used to have a lot of different ales back then, and also mead of course, which is a fermented honey wine of sorts.
Honey
But
wine?
you may not have heard
nice.
about Mölska. Mead was actually not drunk all that much because it was an expensive drink. Ale or beer on the other hand was a cheap alternative for getting drunk. But sometimes people wanted to have a bit of both, so they invented something called Mölska. That's basically a combination of mead and beer. So if you ever visit a medieval week or just a medieval pub in Stockholm Old Town, then you know what you're ordering. Speaking of medieval pubs in Stockholm Old Town, one very famous one is Sjätte Tunnan, the Sixth Barrel. Now, I may be talking out of my ass, as I typically do, but I think that I recall an anecdote about Sjätte Tunnan.
That reminds me of Ace Ventura. Alrighty then.
As I typically do, but I think that I recall an anecdote about Sjätte Tunnan and the medieval week. If I recall correctly, the owners of Sjätte Tunnan used to have a medieval pub here at the medieval week, but one year they didn't have a license to sell alcohol, so they had 5 barrels of non-alcoholic drinks that they sold instead. However, they apparently had a hidden stash, so whenever someone asked for a drink specifically from the 6th barrel, then they got the proper newspaper stuff. Or
Oh,
at least
wow.
that's how I remember the anecdote. I've heard another anecdote about a medieval week, but that one is a bit more lewd. Gotland is an island, so people who live here don't have a great selection of people to have sex with. So apparently people
Excuse
can
me?
get quite frisky during the medieval week when a lot of new blood is invading
Wow.
the island. One person told me that once when she walked past a dark section of the wall, she could hear a girl shout out, "Ta mig mot ringmuren, din fastländske tjur." I apologize for my pathetic attempt at a Gotland dialect, but that basically means, "Take me against the medieval wall, you mainland stud." Well, what can you say? Whatever happens at medieval week stays at medieval week.
What? That took a weird turn. You guys get frisky. Interesting.
I mentioned that the medieval week
Interesting.
is themed around the Danish king Valdemar Atterdag. In 1361, King Atterdag had conquered Scania and the island of Öland, and he set his sights on
Ireland.
Gotland as well. He arrived on the south side of the island
Isn't Ireland like a mixture of Erling and Holland? Erling Holland? Ireland. Ireland.
and he set his sights on Gotland as well. He arrived on the south side of the island and he marched towards Visby to try to invade the town. And apparently he followed Joda's advice to do or do not, there is no try, because he
Jodas.
definitely succeeded. He killed 1,800 peasants in something that would be later called the Massacre by the Wall, and then he rode into Visby victorious.
The
It might
Massacre
seem
by
a
the Wall.
little bit strange to choose that event as a basis for a medieval festival,
I
but
know,
it does
right?
make sense. There's been tons of artifacts found after that battle, and it's a very significant event at a very significant period
Were those dream catchers? Are those dream catchers?
after that battle, and it's a very significant event at a very significant period of time. It's smack in the middle of the Middle Ages, and it brings great opportunities to reenact grievances between Danes and Swedes. And if there's one thing I enjoy, it's to be able to hold a grudge against the Danes. And that's about it for this quick look at a medieval week on Gotland. I hope you found it interesting and maybe even a little bit educational. Either way, like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day.
That's awesome. What a great video. You know, this channel is pretty cool. As I said, guys, link is in the description. The name of the channel is 3-Star Vagabond. Don't know why. Why? Although I know vagabond in English has a different meaning. It means a wanderer, right? So, okay, 3-Star Wanderer. Interesting. Because, yeah, I was thinking of a different type of vagabond. But yeah, it does mean wanderer. Anyways, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Great information. And what an interesting week, medieval week. And it's interesting to see how people really get into the character. This feels like I've never been to any of these cosplay things or whatever. But what's the name of that? Comic Con? Is it Comic Con? I think so. Yeah, the cosplay. And yeah, it's interesting. It really is interesting. A medieval one. So I hope you guys enjoy this medieval week. It's going to be in August, so a few days from now. Isn't it crazy that we're already in almost in August? It's insane. Like 11, 12, 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. That's crazy. Let me know if you guys are going to the medieval week, or if you guys are going to watch or celebrate, or I don't know, do like what I'm doing, learn about it. Thank you so much to Susan. Tack så mycket. If you want to request a video, go over to Buy Me Coffee, join me on Discord, join our community. The link is in the description as always, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.